The vast stillness of space, filled with stars, seemed peaceful, but across the galaxy, the Elleran Confederation faced extinction. The Voidborn Armada swept through their outer colonies one by one, leaving only destruction. The Ellerans, with their crystalline ships and advanced technology, were no match for the invaders. Unlike the Voidborn, the Ellerans evolved without predators on their homeworld. Their civilization developed without concepts of warfare or violence. Though technologically brilliant, they lacked the instinct to fight back effectively. In their central command center, Supreme Coordinator Mira gazed at the holographic display showing another fallen colony. Her silver skin reflected the red warning lights as she turned to her advisors. "We have lost contact with the seventh colony," she said quietly. "The Voidborn will reach our core worlds within 20 cycles." Elder Taro, his face lined with age, shook his head. "Our shields cannot withstand their weapons. Our people do not understand how to fight this enemy." "Then we must seek help," said Mira. "There are other civilizations beyond the known boundaries." "Those regions are forbidden," protested another advisor. "The ancient records warn of dangerous species there." Mira stood firm. "We face extinction. We have no choice but to try." The Ellerans activated their most powerful transmission array. They sent a desperate message into the darkness of unexplored space, hoping someone, anyone, might answer. The signal traveled for weeks, crossing vast empty regions before reaching a yellow star system far from galactic politics. In Earth's deep space monitoring station, a young officer named Sung sat bolt upright as his console lit up with activity. "Director Bake," he called out, "we're receiving an alien transmission." Director Bake hurried over, her face serious. Humanity had known about alien life for decades, but remained isolated, never invited to join the galactic community. Now something had changed. "Can you translate it?" she asked. Sung worked the controls. "The computer is processing it now. It's a distress call. Someone's asking for help." The translated message appeared on screen, describing the Elleran plight and their impending doom. It included star charts and coordinates, an invitation that broke 200 years of silence from the cosmos. Director Bake immediately contacted Earth Defense Command. Within hours, Captain Jin of the warship Thunderbolt received orders to investigate. As one of Earth's most decorated officers, Jin understood the importance of this mission. "This could be humanity's chance to join the galactic community," he told his crew during briefing. "Or it could be a trap. Either way, we go prepared." Lieutenant Moon, the ship's tactical officer, studied the alien data. "These Ellerans have technology far beyond ours, Captain. Yet they're losing a war." "Sometimes technology isn't enough," Jin replied. "Sometimes you need something else." The Thunderbolt prepared for departure along with 2 sister ships. Earth had built its small fleet in secret, always ready for the day when they might need to defend themselves against the stars. On the night before launch, Captain Jin stood in the observation deck, looking at Earth below. Science Officer Park joined him quietly. "Do you think we're doing the right thing?" she asked. "Breaking the quarantine to help aliens we know nothing about." Jin considered her question. "I wonder why they reached out to us specifically. They must have other allies closer to them." "Unless they don't," Park suggested. "Maybe we were their last hope." The next morning, Earth's small fleet departed. The 3 ships activated their experimental jump drives, tearing holes in space to travel faster than light. The journey would take weeks even with this technology. During transit, the crew studied everything they could about the Ellerans and their enemy. Intelligence Officer Rio discovered something troubling in old Earth legends that matched alien descriptions. "Captain, look at this," he said, showing Jin ancient cave paintings. "These match descriptions of the Voidborn from the Elleran data. Our ancestors might have encountered them before." Jin frowned. "If that's true, then this enemy is older than civilization itself." When the fleet finally arrived at the coordinates, they found a small Elleran vessel waiting. The alien ship's design was beautiful, curved lines of what looked like glass and light. The aliens established communication immediately. When their image appeared on screen, Captain Jin was surprised to see how fragile they looked. Tall, willowy beings with translucent skin. "You came," said the Elleran commander, wonder in its voice. "The dangerous ones actually came to help." Jin was confused. "Dangerous? We responded to your distress call." The Elleran seemed both relieved and frightened. "We sent our call to all frequencies. We didn't expect humans. The ancient records call your kind the apex predators. They say your worlds were placed under quarantine for the safety of the galaxy." Before Jin could respond to this shocking revelation, alarms blared across both ships. On the tactical display, dozens of dark vessels appeared, moving rapidly toward their position. "The Voidborn have found us," the Elleran said with fear. "Now you will see why we needed the most dangerous beings in the galaxy." Captain Jin ordered his ships into defensive formation as the Voidborn vessels approached. The 3 Earth ships, though small compared to the alien craft, moved with precision and speed that surprised the Elleran observers. "All weapons ready," Lieutenant Moon reported from Tactical. "The enemy ships are larger than ours, but their formation suggests they aren't expecting resistance." Jin studied the approaching vessels on the main screen. Unlike the beautiful crystal ships of the Ellerans, the Voidborn craft were dark, angular machines that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. "Open a channel to the Elleran ship," Jin commanded. When the alien commander appeared on screen, Jin spoke clearly. "We need information. How do they attack? What are their weaknesses?" The Elleran commander, who had introduced himself as Siren, looked confused. "They simply destroy. We have tried to communicate, to understand their demands, but they do not respond." "You've never fought back?" Lieutenant Moon asked in disbelief. "Our species evolved without predators," Siren explained. "The concept of violence is difficult for us to implement. We have defensive shields, but no weapons on our vessels." Jin nodded to his communications officer. "Send a message to Earth. Tell them we've made contact and that we're engaging a hostile force. Request reinforcements." The Voidborn ships continued their approach, showing no interest in communication. Their formation was rigid and predictable, almost mechanical in its precision. "They move like insects," observed Science Officer Park, suggesting a hive mind or centralized control system. Jin made his decision. "We'll engage the lead vessels and see how they respond. Fire warning shots across their path." The Thunderbolt's energy weapons fired, bright beams of blue light crossing the path of the approaching Voidborn. The effect was immediate and unexpected. The entire Voidborn formation halted in space, as if confused by this new development. "They're reassessing," Jin said, leaning forward in his chair. They'd never encountered resistance from this sector before. The stillness lasted only moments before the Voidborn ships broke formation, spreading out in an attack pattern that seemed more sophisticated than their previous approach. "They adapt quickly," Moon warned. "So do we," Jin replied. "Attack pattern Delta. Target their lead ship." The 3 Earth vessels moved in concert, each taking a different vector toward the largest Voidborn ship. Energy weapons fired in coordinated bursts, concentrated on specific points of the alien vessel. On the Elleran ship, Commander Siren and his crew watched in silence. They had never witnessed actual combat between space vessels. The human ships moved with unpredictable patterns, dodging energy blasts from the Voidborn while continuing their relentless attack. "They fight like they were born for it," Siren whispered to his science officer. The largest Voidborn ship suddenly erupted in a series of explosions as the human weapons found a vulnerability. The dark vessel split apart, fragments spinning into space. "Direct hit," Moon announced, but there was no time for celebration. The remaining Voidborn ships responded with overwhelming firepower. Energy beams struck the smallest human vessel, cutting through its shields. "The Horizon is taking heavy damage," Communications Officer Yoon reported. They've lost engines and weapons. Jin didn't hesitate. Move us between Horizon and the enemy. Have medical teams ready to receive survivors. And target the Voidborn ship that hit them. The Thunderbolt positioned itself to shield the damaged vessel, while its weapons fired continuously at the attacking Voidborn ship. The third human vessel, the Dauntless, executed a daring maneuver, flying directly toward another Voidborn ship before veering away at the last moment, causing two enemy vessels to collide. After 20 minutes of intense fighting, the Voidborn ships suddenly retreated, jumping to faster-than-light speed and disappearing. Jin ordered damage reports and casualty counts. The Horizon had lost 15 crew members, with many more injured. The other ships had suffered damage but remained operational. When the situation stabilized, Jin received a request for a meeting from Commander Saren. The Ellerin leader came aboard the Thunderbolt, his tall, fragile form seeming out of place among the battle-worn humans. "We have never seen anything like what you did today," Saren said, his voice filled with both awe and fear. "You fought without hesitation. You sacrificed yourselves to protect others. You enjoyed the combat." Jin shook his head. "We don't enjoy killing, Commander. But we understand that sometimes fighting is necessary to protect what matters." Saren studied the human captain closely. "The ancient records were right about your species. You evolved as predators, yet you developed cooperation and self-sacrifice. You can channel aggression with precision. This is why the elder races feared you." "Feared us?" Jin asked. "Is that why we were quarantined?" "Yes," Saren admitted. "Your isolation wasn't because you were primitive, but because you were too dangerous, too unpredictable, too effective at warfare." "And now?" Jin asked. Saren looked at the tactical display, showing the retreating Voidborn signals. "Now, Captain Jin, you may be the only hope for the galaxy. The most dangerous beings might be exactly what we need." The Earth fleet commanders gathered in the strategy room of the Thunderbolt. Maps of Ellerin space filled the holographic displays, with red markers showing Voidborn-controlled territories. Captain Jin stood at the center, his face serious as he addressed his officers. "We've analyzed the data from our first encounter," Jin said. "The Voidborn have superior numbers and firepower, but they lack tactical flexibility." Lieutenant Moon pointed to the display. "Their ships move in fixed patterns. When we disrupted those patterns, they became confused before adapting. They think like machines, not warriors," added Commander Kang from the Dauntless. "We can use that against them." The meeting was interrupted when Science Officer Park entered with an Ellerin scientist named Tali. The tall, slender alien carried a data device that he connected to the human systems. "We've completed our analysis of Voidborn technology," Park explained. "Tali has discovered something important." The Ellerin's voice was soft but clear. "The Voidborn ships communicate through quantum signals. They share information instantly across their fleet, which is why they adapt so quickly as a group." "Can we disrupt this communication?" Jin asked. "Possibly," Tali replied. "But we need to understand it better first. We need to capture a Voidborn ship." The room fell silent. Capturing an enemy vessel seemed impossible given their current resources. Before anyone could object, the communication system activated. A transmission from Earth Command appeared on screen. Admiral Su's stern face filled the display. "Captain Jin, we've received your reports. The Security Council has authorized full military response. The transport fleet is on its way with reinforcements and supplies." Jin straightened. "Thank you, Admiral. How many ships can we expect?" 20 combat vessels and support craft," the Admiral replied. "Along with our new weapon systems. They'll arrive within 2 weeks. Until then, you are to gather intelligence and protect the remaining Ellerin outposts if possible." After the call ended, Jin turned to his officers. 2 weeks is a long time when fighting a war. We need to slow the Voidborn advance until reinforcements arrive." Engineer Yoon, who had been quietly observing from the corner, stood up. "Captain, I have an idea. If we can't match their numbers, perhaps we can trick them. Over the next few days, humans and Ellerans worked together to implement Yoon's plan. They modified Elleran transport vessels to broadcast false sensor signatures, making them appear as warships to Voidborn scanners. Meanwhile, the actual combat vessels would hide using adapted Elleran cloaking technology. The first test of this strategy came at the Elleran outpost of Nida, a small mining colony that lay directly in the path of the advancing Voidborn fleet. Captain Jin positioned his decoy ships in plain sight, while the Thunderbolt and Dauntless waited in a nearby asteroid field. When the Voidborn arrived, they approached the decoys cautiously, spreading out to surround what they believed to be human warships. The moment they committed to the attack, Jin gave the order. "Now," he commanded. The two human ships burst from hiding, weapons firing at the rear of the Voidborn formation. The sudden attack from an unexpected direction caused the Voidborn ships to scatter in confusion. 3 enemy vessels were destroyed before they could reorganize. In the chaos, a specialized team led by Lieutenant Moon launched from the Thunderbolt in a small shuttle. Using the battle as cover, they approached the smallest Voidborn ship and attached to its hull. Cutting through the outer layers, the team entered the enemy vessel. What they found inside shocked them. The Voidborn ship had no crew compartments, no life support systems. Instead, its interior was filled with complex machinery surrounding a central core that pulsed with dark energy. "This isn't a ship," Moon reported back to Jin. "It's some kind of drone. There are no living Voidborn aboard." Engineer Yoon joined the team and examined the central core. "This is their control system. It receives commands through the quantum network and executes them without question. Can you disable it without destroying it?" Jin asked over the comm. "Better," Yoon replied. "I think we can reprogram it." For 3 hours, while the battle continued outside, Yoon worked on the captured system. The remaining Voidborn ships eventually retreated, but not before losing 7 vessels to the human tactics. When Yoon returned to the Thunderbolt, she brought with her the central processing unit from the Voidborn ship. "With this, we can track their communications, maybe even send false commands." That night, as the humans and Ellerans celebrated their first real victory, Captain Jin received a private message from an Elleran elder named Mira. Her face showed both gratitude and concern. "You fight in ways we never imagined possible," she said. "Your species thinks differently than any we've encountered. You see warfare as an art, not just destruction." Jin shook his head. "Not an art. A necessity sometimes. We hope for peace, but prepare for war." Mira studied him carefully. "The galaxy has forgotten what it means to face adversity. Perhaps that is why the Voidborn have been so successful until now. They never expected to meet predators like you." Jin looked out at the stars. "When our reinforcements arrive, the Voidborn will learn what humans are truly capable of." This was just the beginning. The Earth reinforcement fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Elleran territory. 20 warships strong with support vessels carrying supplies and advanced weapons. Admiral Su stood on the bridge of the flagship Valiant, watching as Captain Jin's battle-worn vessels approached for docking. "Your reports were impressive, Captain," Admiral Su said when Jin arrived on the flagship. 3 ships holding back an enemy fleet for 2 weeks is no small feat." Jin nodded respectfully. "We couldn't have done it without the Ellerans, sir. Their technology is remarkable, even if their military strategy is lacking." The Admiral gestured to the war room, where officers and Elleran leaders had gathered. Engineer Yoon stood beside a strange device, the captured Voidborn control core, now connected to human systems. "We've decoded much of their communication network," Yoon explained to the assembled group. "The Voidborn aren't individual ships but parts of a collective intelligence. They share information instantly, which is why they adapt so quickly." She pointed to different sections of the holographic display. "But there's a hierarchy. Some vessels give orders, others follow. If we can identify and target their command ships, we can throw their entire fleet into confusion." Admiral Sue studied the tactical display showing voidborne positions. We don't have the numbers to face their main fleet directly. Even with our new weapons, we'd be overwhelmed. A young tactical officer named Jay stood up. Then we don't fight fair, sir. We fight smart. Over the next days, humans taught Ellerans the concepts of military strategy. The peaceful aliens struggled with ideas like deception and preemptive strikes, but they learned quickly when they understood these tactics could save lives. The combined fleet split into small task forces, each with a specific mission. Some would target voidborne supply lines, others would raid outposts, and a special team led by Captain Jin would hunt for the command ships. Using the data from the captured core, Engineer Yoon created a virus program that could infiltrate the voidborne network. If they could upload it to a command ship, it would spread throughout the enemy fleet, causing confusion and system failures. The first phase of the plan began with simultaneous strikes on 7 voidborne outposts. The attacks were quick and precise, with the human ships disappearing before reinforcements could arrive. The voidborne responded by consolidating their forces, pulling ships from the front lines to protect critical locations. They're reacting exactly as we predicted, Lieutenant Moon told Captain Jin as they watched the enemy movements on tactical displays. Their main fleet is gathering to protect what they believe is their most important asset, the mining operation in the Chorus system. Jin nodded, which means their true command center is now less protected. Using the Ellerans' most advanced stealth technology, Jin's task force approached the suspected location of the Voidborne Command Center, a massive space station orbiting a dead star. Unlike the other Voidborne constructs, this one stayed hidden, never participating directly in battles. Scans show minimal defenses, Science Officer Park reported. They never expected anyone to find this place. Jin turned to his team. This is our one chance. The infiltration team will board the station and upload the virus while we provide distraction and extraction. Commander Kang would lead the infiltration team, with Engineer Yoon to handle the technical aspects of the mission. As they prepared in the shuttle bay, Kang checked his team's equipment one last time. Remember, he told them, we get in, upload the virus, and get out. No heroics. The mission began with the Thunderbolt launching a direct attack on the station's external communication array. As alarms blared across the Voidborne facility, the small infiltration shuttle approached from the opposite side, attaching to an emergency airlock. Inside, the team encountered no living defenders, only automated systems and drone units that moved with mechanical precision. They fought their way to the central control chamber, where Yoon connected to the main terminal. Their entire network is accessible from here, she said, working quickly. Uploading the virus now. Suddenly, the chamber sealed itself, and a holographic image appeared, not of a biological being, but a complex energy pattern that shifted and pulsed as it spoke. Humans, the entity said, its voice coming from all directions at once. We wondered when you would emerge from your isolation. The quarantine was meant to protect the galaxy from you, but instead, it preserved you for this moment. Kang raised his weapon. What are you? We are the Voidborne, the entity replied. What you would call artificial intelligence, created eons ago by a species long extinct. We seek order through uniformity. The Ellerans and others like them would never resist our guidance. But you are chaos incarnate. Yoon finished the upload, the virus spreading through the system. The hologram flickered as the entity struggled against the intrusion. You cannot destroy us, it said, its voice distorting. We exist across thousands of vessels. We don't need to destroy you, Kang replied. Just disrupt you long enough to show everyone how to fight back. As the team retreated to their shuttle, the effects of the virus spread throughout the Voidborne network. Across Elleran space, enemy vessels began to move erratically, their coordinated actions dissolving into chaos. Admiral Sue watched from the flagship as the reports came in. All Voidborne ships are showing signs of network failure. Their formations are breaking apart. For the first time since the war began, the Voidborne were vulnerable. The turning point had arrived. The combined human and Elleran fleets closed in on the scattered Voidborn forces. With their network crippled by the virus, the enemy ships could no longer coordinate their actions. Some continued to fight with mechanical precision, while others drifted aimlessly in space. Admiral Sue directed the final offensive from the bridge of the Valiant. "Focus on the vessels still showing signs of coordination," she ordered. "Those will be the ones that have partially recovered from the virus." Captain Jin led a task force targeting the largest remaining Voidborn ships. The human vessels moved with disciplined aggression, striking key systems rather than attempting to destroy entire ships. "We don't need to eliminate them all," Jin explained to his Elleran allies. "Just disable enough of them to force a retreat." After hours of combat, the remaining Voidborn ships began to withdraw from Elleran space, not in the coordinated patterns they once showed, but in small groups, jumping to hyperspace in different directions. Engineer Yoon monitored the virus's effects from the command center. "The Voidborn network is fragmenting," she reported. "They're isolating infected systems by breaking their connections. Smart, but it means they can't function as a collective anymore." When the last enemy ships disappeared from sensors, a strange silence fell over the fleet. The battle was over. For the first time in months, the Ellerans could look to the stars without fear. In the following days, representatives from dozens of alien civilizations arrived in Elleran space. Species that had hidden or remained neutral during the Voidborn invasion now sought to meet the humans who had done what they thought impossible. Admiral Sue and Captain Jin attended a Grand Council meeting aboard the Elleran Central Space Station. The circular chamber was filled with beings of all shapes and sizes, many viewing humans directly for the first time. Supreme Coordinator Mira addressed the gathering. "For generations, the galaxy lived in balance. When the Voidborn emerged, that balance was broken. We had forgotten how to defend ourselves, how to fight for our existence." She gestured toward the human delegation. These beings were kept in isolation because the elder species feared their capacity for violence. What they failed to understand was that same capacity would one day be needed. An alien representative stood, his insectoid features clicking as he spoke. "The humans have proven their worth in battle, but can they exist peacefully among us? Their quarantine was established for good reasons." Admiral Sue stepped forward. "Humanity learned long ago that our greatest strength isn't our capacity for violence. It's our ability to choose when not to use it. We fight to protect, not to conquer." Another representative, a floating crystalline being, joined the discussion. "Perhaps both perspectives have wisdom. The humans possess skills we have lost, while we maintain knowledge they have yet to discover." Over the next several days, a new alliance took shape. The quarantine around human space would be lifted, allowing Earth to join the galactic community. In exchange, humans would help establish defense forces for peaceful species and train them in strategies to protect themselves. Captain Jin found himself appointed as the first human ambassador to the Elleran Confederation. As he prepared to send his final report to Earth, Engineer Yoon brought him important news. "We've analyzed the remaining Voidborn signals," she said. "They're regrouping at the edge of known space. This war isn't over." Jin nodded. "I didn't expect it would be. But next time, they won't face just humans. They'll face a united galaxy." On the final day of the conference, a ceremony was held to formalize the new alliance. Admiral Sue and Supreme Coordinator Mira signed the agreement while representatives from 27 species stood as witnesses. "Today marks the beginning of a new galactic order," Mira announced. "One where peaceful cooperation and the ability to defend that peace exist together." After the ceremony, Jin stood with Lieutenant Moon at an observation window, looking out at the combined fleet, human vessels alongside the crystal ships of the Ellerans and the organic cruisers of newer allies. "Do you think we did the right thing, answering that distress call?" Moon asked. Jin considered the question. Humanity spent centuries wondering if we were alone in the universe. Then we learned we weren't alone. We were avoided, feared, He gestured toward the fleet. Now we have a chance to show the galaxy that what makes us dangerous can also make us the best protectors they could ask for. As they watched, a message arrived from Earth. The Security Council had approved the Alliance Treaty. Humanity was officially part of the galactic community. That night, as celebrations continued across the fleet, Engineer Yoon made one final discovery. Analyzing the communication patterns of the retreating Voidborn, she found something unexpected. A change in their behavior. They're not just retreating, she told Jin. They're evolving, learning from us. The next time we meet, they'll understand what they're fighting against. Jin smiled slightly. Good. Then they'll understand why they should be careful about who they threaten. Sometimes the most desperate plea for help brings the most dangerous beings to your door. As they descended toward the designated area, Nari moved closer to Tawu, her hand briefly touching his arm. Over the months, the strict proximity requirement of her biological bond had gradually relaxed. She could now move freely throughout the ship without distress, though she still preferred to stay near him by choice. Whatever happens, she said quietly, thank you for everything. Tawu nodded, not trusting himself to speak. The possibility of saying goodbye weighed heavily on him. The landing was smooth. Through the viewport, they could see several figures waiting at the edge of the pad. Most were wearing the practical clothing of colony workers, but what caught their attention was the unmistakable blue skin and luminescent markings of 3 Lyridians standing among them. Your people, Tawu said gently as they prepared to disembark. You can be with them now. Nari stood at the viewport, watching as the blue-skinned figures approached cautiously. Her luminescent markings brightened considerably, a sign of emotional response among her kind. The patterns shifted through colors rapidly. Yellow, blue, green, purple, emotions too complex and alien for Tawu to fully interpret. They were met at the airlock by a mixed group, 2 human colony representatives and the 3 Lyridians. One of the Lyridians was clearly elderly, his blue skin faded to a pale azure, the luminescent patterns on his arms dimmer, but more intricate than Nari's. Welcome to New Haven, one of the humans greeted them. I'm Director Park. Min informed us of your situation. The elderly Lyridian stepped forward, his black eyes fixed on Nari. His 6-fingered hands moved in a complex gesture that Nari immediately returned, her markings pulsing in rhythm with his. I am Meyer, he said in perfect common language. Elder of our small community. We are 14 now. With you, 15. Nari bowed her head slightly. I am Nari. I was taken from the Eastern Islands during the 3rd harvest season. We know of the raids, Meyer said sadly. Many were lost. It brings joy to find another survivor. They were shown around the settlement, which turned out to be more sophisticated than it appeared from above. The Lyridians had established their own section within one of the larger domes, adapting the environment to better match their homeworld's conditions. Higher humidity, specialized lighting that complemented their bioluminescence, and plants imported from their native planet created a small pocket of their distant home. Throughout the tour, Tawu observed Nari carefully. Her markings remained bright and active as she interacted with her people, asking questions, learning about their life here. She seemed genuinely happy to be among them, to hear her native language spoken around her, to see cultural practices she had been separated from for so long. That evening, they were invited to a small gathering in the Lyridian section. Food was shared, some human dishes, some Lyridian delicacies that Tawu found strangely sweet and textured like nothing he had ever tasted. Music played on unfamiliar instruments filled the air, and the Lyridians' markings glowed in synchronized patterns as they moved in what appeared to be a traditional dance. After the meal, Meyer asked to speak with them privately. In a small room filled with plants and softly glowing stones, the elder Lyridian explained more about their situation. We have been here 3 Earth years, he said. The humans of this colony needed our agricultural knowledge. We needed safety, a fair exchange. And the Earth Alliance? Ta Wu asked. They protect you.